Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Growing with Galen, where we grow not only naturally through how-to videos, but also hopefully at some point spiritually through the study of God. We're here today in Steele, Alabama at Smith's Tomato Farm, where we're going to pick up some green beans and then go home and fix them and can them. I'll show you how to can some green beans. We've made it back home now from Smith's Tomato Farm in Steele, Alabama, where we picked up a couple of bushels of green beans. And the first step you want to do when you get them home, after picking them out of your own garden or going somewhere like we did this morning and getting the green beans, is you want to wash them up real good. So I'll put them in a sink full of water and just kind of slosh them around a little bit like so. Wash them, shake them up good. What you want to do is get any kind of dirt or maybe and hopefully any kind of pesticides that might have been used. Get as much of that off as you can. You want to put them in one batch of water to start with. Wash them good and then kind of shake them off a little bit and then put them in another batch of water. And wash them again in another batch of clean water, and that way it just gives you a little more extra assurance of getting them clean as possible. So after you get them everything washed like you want it, you want to put them in a good clean dish pan like this. Start to snap them up, and that's what we'll do next once we get everything washed. So we've got them washed, got the green beans washed, got them in our clean dish pan. Our hands are real clean because we've washed them. So you always want to use clean hands when you do this. And so now we're just going to snap them up and get them ready to heat up. So to do that, one of the most important things you got to do is get these strings off of this thing. If you do not, I'll just show you. See, look at that. Look at that, see? If you don't get the strings off and you cook these up and try to eat them, you're going to be biting down into these things. It's going to be like a piece of yarn in your mouth, and it's going to be terrible. So you've got to get the strings off. I have ate some where people didn't get the strings off, and it is terrible, let me tell you. So whatever you do, get them strings off. Then you want to just take them and, see, there's a little more. Take them and just break them up in whatever size you want them in. I like them just kind of like that size. Now another thing you want to make sure is every now and then you're going to run into some that it's really grown more than it should have been picked earlier, but the beans have really grown more than it should. So when you run into that, you just want to shell the beans out and throw away the hull. Here's another one. You just take it and just get the beans out. Like so. And so you just continue on until you get done with them all. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And when I get done with them, I'll show you how to do the heating process on them. Okay, so we have snapped up almost a whole bushel, not yet. We got a little bit left to snap up. And we ended up having to shell a fair amount of them because they were too big. So when they get too big and poofy, you need to shell them. Whoever gathered these probably gathered them a week and a half too late, really. But we're going to make them work as best we can. So what you want to do is, once you get them snapped up and shelled up, you want to heat them up. And the reason why is because you want to get the green off. You know, as you heat them up, you'll see them go from a dark green to a lighter green. When you do that, you know you got them heated good. So basically, you put them on the stove. We got them in water here, as you can see. You put them on the stove and get them to boiling and just let them boil a few minutes. And then that'll get the green off. And then we'll be in good shape, be ready to start putting them in the jars. So while these heat, I'm gonna finish shelling up, or not shelling up, but finish snapping up the rest of the bushel, and then I'm gonna wash and clean and sterilize my jars.
Yeah.
As you can see, this is starting to boil. So you want to keep this stirred. See how this green, the different shades of green here? This is without it heating up, and these are heating up, or heated up. So you can see the green getting off of it. See the difference? And say them right here. That's the green still on right here, and that's the green getting off. So as they get hot, the green will start getting off. You see it right here. Some of this green still on. So you want to keep it stirred as it boils so that you don't get them burning on the bottom. And once they get hot, we'll have them ready to go in the jars as soon as we can get the jars and lids and rings washed and sterilized. So I'll come back when we get ready to sterilize, wash the jars and rings and sterilize them. Or wash the jars and lids and sterilize them.
Go.
All right, now you can see we've boiled them good, got them good and hot, and got all that bright green, kind of got a dull green now, and that's what you're looking for. So I'm gonna turn them off, which I already have, and pull them off this eye. Let them cool a little bit while I wash up some jars, lids, and rings, and get the jars and lids sterilized, and then I'll be ready to pack them in the jars. So next thing we're gonna do is wash up the jars, lids, and rings. Ready? Alrighty, so I went down to the basement and I gathered me up 7 jars, got 7 lids, and I've got 7 rings. So 7 is all I can get in my water bath canner. So what you want to do, you just want to clean them up real good. I usually start by sloshing some good hot soapy water around, and then I'll take my rag and throw it down in there, and take a knife and slosh that, get down in there, and make sure that rag gets over all the sides of the jar real good, like so. And dump out that water and put some more water in there. Slosh it around. See how that rag goes around and around? It's almost like a washing machine. Audrey, keep you on camera, Audrey. And take your rag and go around this lid real good. Clean the outside real good. And get set. And you also want to do your rings. You don't have to sterilize your rings, but you do. It's kind of a good idea to clean them. It's pretty much have to do that, you know. And you got to do your lids. That's your lids. I'm gonna clean them up real good. So I'm gonna finish the rest of these up, and then I'll show you how to sterilize them. So until then. Okay, so now I have washed up my jars, I washed up my lids, and I washed up my rings. Now I'm going to sterilize my jars and then my lids. You don't have to sterilize the rings, but you do have to sterilize the jars and lids. So I'm starting with my jars. So what you want to do is you want to put about, I don't know, roughly 2 inches of water down in the bottom of the of the pot that you're going to use to sterilize your jars. And when you put your jars into the pot, you're going to put them in upside down. And the reason why is because you want that heat coming up into the inside of that jar as much as possible to kill all or any bacteria that may be in there. So you want your jars upside down, and you want about roughly 2 or 3 inches of water in the bottom of your pot here. And then all you do is turn them on and let them get real hot. I like to get them so hot to the point where I can't touch them with my hand hardly. So I figured if they're that hot, then it's killed any bacteria that might have been in or around the jar. So we're going to sterilize these jars, and then we'll do the lids, and then we'll start packing. So until then. Okay, so we washed our jars, lids, and rings. And now I've sterilized my jars, and I'm sterilizing my lids now. So we're getting ready to pack the jars. So what you'll need here, of course, is your jar. You'll need a funnel. You'll need a ring. And you'll need the lids. They're over there on the stove being sterilized now. And you'll need some salt. You'll need 1 teaspoon measure. So you put a teaspoon of salt in each jar after you get the green beans in the jar and get it packed. And to help you pack, you probably want a good sized spoon, something like this. So you just start. We'll just use this funnel because it helps to keep a lot of moisture off the top of your jar. If you got moisture and any kind of debris or anything on the top of your jar, it won't seal. So you want to make sure that top of that jar is real good and clean. Keep putting them in there. You want to pack them down good so you can get more in each one. Just spin your jar and push down as you go. Don't want to pack them too tight because when you get ready to open them up, they'll be hard to get out if you pack them too tight. You want to get them up to right around the bottom, right around in there, where you want to get them to. Put a few more in there. Ought to be plenty in that one. And you want to take put you a teaspoon of salt for a quart. If you were doing pints, which I wouldn't recommend on green beans, you'd put a half a teaspoon, but for a quart you'll do a teaspoon of salt. And before you put your ring on or your lid on, you want to clean off, make sure this is good and clean, because if, like I said, if there's any kind of water or part of a bean or something like that left on there, then it's not going to seal after you cook them, get them cool down. It won't seal. I gotta grab me a lid out of this. Hold on. Be right back. Now you take your sterilized lid, and this is what seals right here. When you cook in your water bath canner, that heat and boiling pushes all the air out of this jar, and then this here can seal around top of the jar. So that's what seals. So you take that after you put your salt in, just put that on, put your lid on, just get it good and snug on there. And move on to your next one until you get ready to get enough for a cannon, and then you'll give them a water bath. So I'm gonna finish the rest of these, and as soon as we get ready to do the water bath portion, we'll see you then.
Okay, go.
Alrighty, so we're at the next to the last step in the process. I've packed the jars and got my lids and rings on the jars good. Now I'm getting ready to heat the jars. And the heating process, what that does is pushes all the air out of the jars. When the air gets out of the jars, it lets that lid seal itself down onto the top of the jar. But the process doesn't completely seal, I guess, until after the jar starts to cool. So what you do is you take your jars, and unlike when you're sterilizing the jars, you put them upside down. You want to be sure you get it right side up in this part of it. What you want to do, this is a water bath. What you want to do is put your jars in and put enough water in the pot here till it covers the jars roughly around an inch. I kind of used the first joint of my finger there as a guide. So just we want to get your jars covered real good, and put the lid on there and turn it on high. And when it gets to boiling real good, you want to let them boil for green beans, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the most. For tomatoes, it's roughly 2 to 5 minutes, but we're doing green beans, so I'm going to let them go a little longer than 5 minutes for green beans. So when it gets to boiling, you'll let them boil for a few minutes, and then you'll turn them off and take them out. So we'll see you when they start boiling.
Ha ha ha.
Okay, now after you've let it boil for a little while, 5 to 10 minutes or so, you can turn off your stove or turn off your top stove and take your pot off the hot eye and get your jars out and let them cool. Start letting them cool. I tend to put a towel or something around mine while they cool. I don't know that it's necessary. I've done it by putting a towel around it, and I've done it without putting a towel around it. And it seems to do fine either way. But there they are. And after they start cooling, you'll start hearing the lids pop. But it's been my experience that the ones that pop are usually the ones you use a pressure counter for. When you do a water bath like I do these, they don't tend to pop much. Every now and then they will. But so just let them sit overnight and check them in the morning and see if they've sealed good. And you'll know once they start to cool, well, these look like they've almost sealed already. They ain't no. A lot of times you'll be able to push down in the middle here some, and I'll tell you it's not sealed if you can push it down. If you can't push it down, then I'll tell you it's sealed. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching episode 2 of Grow with Galen, and we'll see you on the next episode.